go. Welcome everyone. Today's video is a very special one, and that's because we're reviewing this 2021 Jaguar F-Type. It was recently updated and refreshed with the new front fascia and a few new features and technologies. We're going to be covering all of that in today's review by walking you around some of the cool features on the exterior as well as the new styling elements that have been added for this model year before hopping into the interior and checking out a lot of the cool elements that are in there. We're also going to take a look under the hood of this thing, and you might be surprised by just how much power it's packing before ultimately taking this beast out for a quick test drive. That's going to be at the end of this video, so definitely stick around till then. You do not want to miss how this thing drives out on the road. But that's all coming up in today's video, so without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, let's jump right into this review here on the exterior of the Jaguar F-Type. This is where we're going to see the majority of the changes that have been added to the model with this redesign. And all of those changes, or most of them, are going to be up here on the front fascia of the car. As you can see, it's been totally redesigned with a more modern, sleek look. Now, I've watched a couple reviews of this F-Type, and the majority of reviewers seem to have a very negative opinion about this redesign. They think that the old version of this model was much better looking. And while the previous F-Type was definitely a stunning car, a good looker, I think the new one is as well, and it might be even better looking in some ways. Let me explain. So one of the main elements they've added here for 2021 are these full LED Jaguar J-Blade style headlights. While it used to be a very large headlight on the top of the hood, kind of integrated inside the top of the car, now it is lowered down, a lot thinner and sleeker. And for me, I love this look. It kind of visually shortens the car and lengthens the car. So it looks a lot lower and longer than it did before. And the reason I like this is that it really reminds me of older Jaguars. In fact, a predecessor to this F-Type was the Jaguar E-Type, and that was one of the most beautiful cars ever made, in my opinion. And the new, longer, lower look of the F-Type is a lot more similar to that old Jaguar styling that was so iconic. So that's really why I love the front end of this car, but it's still got the classic wide open Jaguar grille up there, feeding air into that wonderful powertrain we're going to be discussing in just a minute. Up on the top of the hood, in addition to some sharp, aggressive, muscular creases, we've also got some air vents here. They're going to help funnel hot air out of that engine bay and also improve the aerodynamics of the car and improve not only the straight line acceleration, but also fuel economy. Moving along to the side, however, there are a few more important things to discuss over here, starting with these wheels. As you can see, this model has a subtle gloss black with silver accent wheel design, but Jaguar offers a ton of different looks for the wheels of this car, ranging from 18, 19, all the way to 20-inch wheels if you really want to stand out on the road. Now, there are a couple more subtle features on the side of the car here. It is all around a very smooth, aggressive design. It's got pop-out door handles right here. So what these do is improve the visual aspect of the side of the car, make things look a little bit smoother, and improve the wind flow around the car, again, aerodynamics. However, I'm not a big fan of these pop-out door handles from a practical use. It's kind of a pain when compared to normal door handles where you can just walk up to the car and yank it open. Here, you kind of got to stick your hand underneath it, find the little crevice in there, and even make sure it's open by pressing the button and all sorts of things like that. To me, it's just a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it does look good when the car is locked. Now, things finish off here towards the rear of the car where we've got these really muscular rear quarter panels that just really widen the car, gives it a very aggressive stance out on the road. It is really going to stand out. We've got that beautiful hatch back here with that sloping roof line that offers almost zero visibility, but a surprisingly impressive 14.4 cubic feet of cargo space. Now, the actual back of the car has not been changed that much, if at all, from the previous version of the F-Type. It's got those same LED taillights and chrome quad exhaust tips. But now let's go ahead and pop this enormous hood open and see what we're working with in terms of power. Incredible. 575 horsepower. The crown jewel of this F-Type is truly a wonder to be in the presence of. Featured under this enormous clamshell hood, the V8 engine that powers this beautiful F-Type is displayed in beautiful fashion. Now, Jaguar is unique in that it actually offers a lot of different engine options with the F-Type. The base models actually have just a simple 4-cylinder engine. The mid-range have I believe a 3-liter V6, and what we have here is the F-Type R, the top of the line, the most powerful, the performance-oriented 5-liter supercharged V8 powerhouse, pumping out 575 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Now, all this power is sent to an 8-speed ZF transmission that is connected to some paddle shifters, so you can be ultra fast with your shifts and time them perfectly. And it also has all-wheel drive, so you're really getting the most out of this powerhouse. You're getting power to all 4 wheels, and we should be experiencing some pretty crazy acceleration during the test drive portion of this review. It's really impressive that Jaguar offers such a wide variety of engine options with this F-Type, but speaking from my personal opinion here, the V8 is definitely the way to go. Now, as cool as the exterior of the 2021 F-Type is, we also have to take a moment to appreciate the beauty of the interior, because while the exterior and the powertrain of this car is all flashy and powerful and muscular, it's still a Jaguar. So at the end of the day, we've got some nice luxury and sophistication and some good technology as well here in the interior of the F-Type. Now, this has not been as drastically changed since the last version of this model, so things are going to be laid out relatively similar to the last F-Type I reviewed. Up here on the dashboard, we have the standard 10-inch infotainment touchscreen system. We've seen this in other Jaguars and Land Rovers. It's a pretty decent system. I definitely like the way it's laid out. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. My only complaint is that it does take a little bit to load the camera and the navigation system. Definitely a bit longer than other infotainment systems I've used from competitors like Audi and Mercedes. However, just below that, we've got a few LCD display screens that will allow you to control the climate control. Those are located on the 3 knobs right here. Very classy design there. Just below that, we've got some more buttons and knobs and switches in here that allow you to adjust different settings on the car. For example, we have the drive mode selector here, the active exhaust flap opener right here, and this button right here that opens up the spoiler. Clearly, these buttons demonstrate that it is focused on performance. These are all things you would use to control the driving experience of the car. Now, another thing that really adds to the experience of this car is going to be that gauge cluster. It is actually a standard 12.3-inch digital display, and it's got semi-configurable gauges. You can show a lot of different driving information up there on that screen. But moving away a little bit from the different technologies in here and just focusing on the general layout, the features, and the materials, the Jaguar F-Type is a fantastic and comfortable car that could almost be daily driven. It's got beautiful soft leathers all around the interior. The standard model comes with suede sport seats, although these are upgraded leather with a hex red contrast stitch pattern on them. Very beautiful seats, standard 12-way power adjustability. They're relatively comfortable, but they've also got these large side bolsters that are going to hold you in when you're out on the track or just having fun on some twisty back roads, as we're about to do in just a minute. The steering wheel is comfortable to hold. It's got perforated leather bolsters on the side here, as well as some pretty high quality feeling paddle shifters right here that will be used to control the transmission. In terms of storage, there are a couple of cup holders here under this flap on the center console area, as well as a very small box here under the center armrest with an SD card slot, a couple USB charge ports, and a 12-volt power outlet. Now on the door panel, we see the controls for the seats, as well as the optional Meridian surround sound system, and a couple of grab handles. Now we've got grab handles all over this car, not just on the door panels, but also right here. This thing has some crazy power. It's going to be a wild ride. You definitely need somewhere for your passenger to hold on when things get a little bit hairy. So that covers just about all the positive aspects of this interior, but I do have to take a moment and point out the obvious, in that as beautiful as the design is from the outside, the inside is really hindered by the beautiful sloping lines of the roof. It's got terrible visibility. This is probably the least visible car I have ever driven. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I've driven Camaros before, and even those had better visibility than this F-Type. Now on the sides, the blind spots, it's got a pretty wide open view, but the front, it's got a very, very narrow windscreen, a very high sloping hood line, and through the back, obviously, you have that wonderful sloping Jaguar-style roofline, and, well, it just makes things near invisible behind you. But the things behind you don't matter at the end of the day, because everything is going to be behind you when you're driving this car. Are you ready? Because I'm ready to take this V8-powered 2021 Jaguar F-Type out onto the road and see what this power is all about. All right, folks, let's start this beast up and go for a drive. Oh, it sounds just mean when you start it up. That is a nice touch. Now, as you can see, some extra air vents do pop up when you turn the car on. That's a nice little feature, but I just want to drive it. So let's go. Putting it into drive. Now, what I do appreciate about the F-Type is that, you know, moving around just slowly in a parking lot like this one here behind Dimmitt Jaguar, it's actually pretty easy to manage. You know, visibility is not great, but it has some cameras around the car to help you out with that, as well as obviously the parking sensors. But it's pretty easy to manage. The power isn't too intense. The transmission is pretty smooth, even though it has to deal with all that mean torque. It sounds fantastic when we open up the exhaust by pressing that button right there. All in all, it's a pretty comfortable daily driving experience. It's actually pretty easy to forget that you have 575, nearly 600 horsepower under your right foot. And since it's all-wheel drive, it can handle it too. Here we go. Oh my gosh, this thing is a beast. Ooh. The steering does not offer a ton of feedback, but what feedback it does offer is good. It is smooth and direct. Handles very, very well. It is a tight turning car. The brakes stop it very well. I mean, what more can you say? This is just as much a sports car as it is a muscle car, if you ask me. It's pretty quiet, except for the engine noise. Obviously, you can open that up with the exhaust flaps and the button on the dashboard, but it's got pretty smooth suspension. Obviously, you can cycle through the different drive modes right there. Nothing about this is too uncomfortable or unmanageable, even though you've got so much power. One more. Hey, if you're considering buying an F-Type like this one right here or a similar car, definitely click on one of the videos on the screen right now. I've actually reviewed a lot of cars similar to this that you might also want to consider. Also, I'd like to extend a huge shout out and special thank you to Chris and everyone here at Dimmitt Jaguar in Clearwater, Florida. I'll leave a link to their inventory below. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching until the end of the video, and I'll see you next time.